The battlefield was burning like a dying star as Evan ran through the smoke-filled air. The ground shook with every blast. Sharp metal, broken machines, and fallen soldiers covered the land. Evan had seen many battles before, but today felt different. Something strange was happening on this alien moon, something he could not understand yet. His helmet lights cut through the darkness. He was searching for survivors from his team, but the thick orange smoke made it hard to see anything. Suddenly, a sound reached his ears. It was soft but clear. It was not the sound of an explosion. It was not a human voice. It was a cry of fear. Evan froze. He looked around. For a moment, everything was silent except the soft echo of the cry. Then it came again, a little louder, like someone calling for help. He followed the sound, moving slowly between broken metal walls and burnt alien plants. His boots sank into black dust with each step. The cry became clearer as he walked closer to a group of fallen machines. It sounded like a child. Evan pushed away a large sheet of metal. Beneath it, he found a small figure curled up on the ground. The figure was shaking. Its skin glowed faintly blue. It had large dark eyes and thin arms. This was no human child. It was a variety child the species humans were at war with. Evan's heart stopped for a moment. The variety were feared. They were stronger, faster, and deadly. Their queens commanded armies that destroyed entire cities. Every soldier was trained to stay away from them. But this child looked weak, terrified, hurt. The child looked up at him, eyes full of fear and confusion. Evan whispered, "Hey, easy. I'm not here to hurt you." He slowly removed his helmet so the child could see his face. He wanted to show he meant no harm. The child's breathing slowed, and it blinked carefully, watching him. A loud explosion suddenly shook the ground. Evan covered the child with his body as debris fell around them. When the shaking stopped, he looked at the child again. It was crying softly, holding its small arm which seemed injured. His earpiece crackled. His teammate's voice came through. "Evan, where are you?" "We're pulling back. The Varadi mothership is entering the sector." Evan hesitated. If he stayed here, he might die. If he carried this alien child, he would become a target for both sides. But he looked at the little one trembling in the dust. Fear covered its tiny face. He could not leave it. Something deep inside him refused. He had seen too much death already. Too many young lives lost. He would not let this child be one of them. "I'm coming in late," Evan answered in the radio. "Found something?" "Someone? What do you mean, someone?" "Wait, Evan, don't tell me." But Evan switched off the radio. He lifted the child gently. It was lighter than he expected. The child flinched, but did not fight. It wrapped its small fingers around Evan's suit, holding on tightly. That single gesture made Evan feel something strange, something he did not expect in the middle of a war. It felt like trust. Suddenly, a deep humming sound filled the air. Bright blue spotlights swept across the rubble. Varadi drones. They were searching for someone. Evan whispered, "They're looking for you, aren't they?" The child nodded weakly. Evan looked around. There was no time to think. He ran through the ruins, keeping low. The giant drones flew overhead, scanning everything with their glowing eyes. If they found him with the child, they would kill him instantly. He sprinted toward a small cave hidden behind a fallen tower. Inside, it was dark and quiet. He laid the child down gently and listened. The drones hovered outside, scanning the area. Their noises echoed like the growl of giant animals. The child tugged at his sleeve. Evan looked down. The child pointed at the cave wall and whispered something in a language he did not understand. Its voice was weak, shaking. Evan whispered, Don't worry. I'll keep you safe. The child stared at him for a long moment, blinking slowly. Then it whispered one word, this time in broken English. Mother. Evan felt a chill run through him. The child pointed toward the sky, its small hand trembling. Mother. Coming. Evan frowned. Your mother? She's out there searching? The child shook its head. It meant something else. Something bigger. Something terrifying. Before Evan could ask anything more, the sky outside flashed with a strange light. A loud roar vibrated the ground. The drone suddenly shot upward as if responding to a call. Evan crawled to the cave entrance and looked. Outside, the clouds were splitting apart. Something enormous was descending from the sky. Bright symbols burned across its hull. It was unlike anything Evan had seen before. The child whispered again, voice shaking. Mother, here. Evan stared as a massive Verati ship landed on the battlefield, sending waves of dust into the air. He didn't know it yet, but saving this child had just changed his entire life, and the alien mother who had arrived was coming for him next. The ground shook again, not from explosions this time, but from something far more powerful. Evan felt dust fall from the cave ceiling as the strange noise grew louder. It was deep, rhythmic, and ancient like the heartbeat of some giant creature waking from a long sleep. He looked at the alien child. She was staring at the cave entrance, eyes wide, body shaking, not from fear, but from something else. Recognition. Expectation. Evan whispered, Is it her? Your mother? The child nodded slowly. Outside, the giant Verati ship touched the ground. Its hull glowed with symbols that changed shape like living creatures. Every time a symbol shifted, the air vibrated. It felt like the ship itself was alive. Evan moved closer to the opening of the cave, careful not to expose himself. He needed to see what was happening. The battlefield, once loud with gunfire, had gone silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. Then he saw her. A tall figure stepped out of the glowing ship. Her armor shone like liquid silver, moving as if it had a mind of its own. Sharp, crown-like horns curved from her head, and long threads of energy floated behind her like a living cloak. The air around her bent slightly, as if even gravity respected her presence. It was the alien mother. It was Serica, queen of the Verati. Evan swallowed hard. He had never seen a Verati queen before. No human had ever survived close contact with one. They were legends born from nightmares, rulers who commanded entire star fleets. But this queen, she was not angry. She was searching, her eyes bright like blue fire swept across the battlefield. The moment her gaze touched any human machines or bodies, the ground cracked under her power. Yet she looked almost desperate. Evan felt the child tug his sleeve again. She pointed at her mother and whispered a soft sound that almost broke his heart. Mama. Evan looked at the child's injured arm, then back at the queen. If Serica saw her daughter like this, she could destroy everything in rage. Evan had to think fast. Suddenly, a group of human soldiers arrived on the ridge above the battlefield. They aimed their rifles at the queen. Evan's heart dropped. Don't shoot, he whispered, even though they couldn't hear him. The soldiers fired. Bright blue beams from the queen's armor shot out automatically, forming a shield. The bullets melted like ice on a flame. Serica lifted her hand gently, not angrily, almost sadly, and the soldiers were pushed back by a wave of invisible force. They fell but weren't killed. She didn't want war. She wanted something else, not something very specific. The child in the cave whimpered. Evan could feel her fear. Her small fingers grabbed his arm tightly. She trusted him. She needed him. And somehow, he knew that if Serica saw him holding the child, everything could go very wrong. Or very right. The queen took one slow step forward, then another. The ground trembled under each step. Her voice finally echoed across the battlefield, calm but filled with power. "Return my heir." Evan froze. Heir? This wasn't just an alien child. She was royalty. The future ruler of the Varadi Empire. No wonder the drones were searching everywhere. No wonder the mothership arrived. No wonder the queen herself came. A shadow moved above them. The Varadi drones returned, now forming a circle around their queen. She raised her hand, and the drones projected a hologram of her daughter injured, hiding, scared. Evan watched her eyes. The queen wasn't just angry. She was in pain. A mother searching for her lost child. Evan took a slow breath. He stepped closer to the cave entrance. The child followed him, clutching his arm. Her glowing blue eyes looked at the light outside, and Evan knew she wanted to go to her mother. But something strange happened when she stepped near the light. The symbols on the queen's armor glowed brighter. The drones shifted. The air hummed. Serica turned suddenly, eyes locking on the cave. Then felt a cold chill run through his heart. She had found them. With slow, powerful steps, Serica walked toward the cave. The ground cracked beneath her each time. Her presence was overwhelming, like a storm walking in human form. Evan stepped forward protectively in front of the child. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "Don't hurt her," he said softly. I kept her safe." Serica stopped only a few meters away. Her eyes glowed brighter than before as she looked at her daughter. The child peeked from behind Evan, eyes full of tears. Serica spoke again, but her voice was softer now. "Saved her?" Evan nodded, asterisk. For a moment, everything was silent. The queen looked at Evan not with anger, but with something far more shocking. Recognition. Double quotes human Evan. She whispered slowly, speaking his name perfectly. "I know you." Evan's heart skipped a beat. How did an alien queen know him? Before he could ask, Serica lifted her staff and placed it into the ground. The symbols glowed like stars, forming a constellation. She raised her head and spoke, the words that changed everything. "You saved my daughter. Now you must answer the ancient debt." Evan stared at her, confused. What do you want from me?" Serica's glowing eyes burned into his. "I want you," she said. "Come with me, human." The child squeezed Evan's hand, and Evan realized this was only the beginning. Evan stood frozen as the alien queen's words echoed across the battlefield. "I want you." Human. Her voice was calm, but heavy with something ancient, something older than both their civilizations. Evan felt the child's small hand gripping his tightly, as if she understood the weight of her mother's words better than he did. He stepped back slightly. "Why? What do you want from me?" Serica's glowing eyes followed him. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from fire. She was powerful, but she didn't raise a weapon. She wasn't here to fight. She was here with purpose. "My people have old laws," she said. "Laws born in the time before stars had names." She gestured to the child. "You saved the heir of the Varadi Empire. You changed her fate. Now the decree of our ancestors demands repayment." Evan frowned. "Repayment? I don't want anything. I didn't save her for a reward." Serica tilted her head slightly. "It is not a reward. It is a binding debt. Life for life. Fate for fate." She pointed at him with a slow, graceful movement. "You have become part of our destiny." Evan's heart pounded. He wasn't even sure what that meant. A destiny? A law older than stars? He looked at the child again. She held onto him tightly, like she didn't want him to leave. Serica lowered her voice, and for the first time, Evan heard something surprising fear. "If you refuse," she said, "the law will break." And if the law breaks, war will follow. Evan felt a cold chill run through him. Humanity was already fighting for survival. Another war, especially against the Verati Empire, would destroy them. He tried to speak calmly. What exactly does this law demand? Serica raised her staff. The air shifted as swirling symbols formed a hologram above them. Shapes moved: humans, Verati, stars, darkness. The images told a story, one that made no sense yet felt important. A human saves a royal child, Serica said, and in return, the savior must stand beside the queen, must walk her path, must share her fate. Evan blinked. Share your fate? What does that mean? The queen took one step closer. He could feel her presence like a wave of heat. It means you must come with me, she said softly. To my world, to my throne, to the war that is coming. Evan felt his breath catch. A war? A throne? He shook his head in disbelief. I'm just a soldier, he whispered. Why me? Serica's eyes darkened, as if she saw something in him that he couldn't see in himself. Because the ancient star sight spoke of you, she said. Long before you were born. Evan stared at her, stunned. That's impossible. But Serica didn't look like someone who believed in impossible things. She looked like someone who had seen the truth written. Across galaxies. The child stepped forward and gently tugged Evan's hand. She looked up at her mother, then at him. Her eyes filled with soft blue light. Evan, come, she whispered in broken English. That small, innocent voice shook him more than any threat could. He knelt beside her. Why? Why do you want me to go? The child touched her chest. Safe. You. Safe. Evan felt his heart twist. She trusted him. Completely. Before he could speak again, the queen moved closer and knelt, something no Verati queen had ever done in front of a human. Evan felt the weight of that moment. The battlefield seemed to stop breathing. Serica placed her hand on the ground. Human Evan, I do not kneel for your people. I kneel for this truth. She looked up at him. My daughter's life belongs to your courage, and my people's future may belong to your choice. Evan swallowed. The queen was kneeling. The princess was holding his hand, and the universe suddenly felt much bigger than the war he knew. I'm not a hero, he whispered. Serica's eyes softened. Heroes never think they are. A deep, distant rumble broke the moment. The sky darkened again as something massive moved behind the clouds. The drones shifted nervously. Even the queen Tensed. Evan looked up. What now? Serica rose to her full height. The enemy that hunts my people has found us. Evan's blood ran cold. Enemy? You mean? Not humans? Serica nodded. Something older. Something crueler. Something that even the Verati fear. Evan felt the ground tremble again. The queen's voice hardened. Come with me now, Evan. If you stay, you die. If you leave with me, you may save more than just one child. The child pressed her forehead gently against Evan's arm, her way of begging. The battlefield lights flickered. A shadow fell across the ground as the unknown enemy descended. Evan tightened his fists. He looked at the queen. He looked at the child. He looked at the dark sky dot, and he realized he had no choice that didn't change everything. Asterisk, the sky above the battlefield, darkened as the strange shadow moved across the clouds. Evan felt the air around him tighten, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The Verati queen, Serica, watched the sky with fierce, sharp eyes. Even her expression, usually calm and controlled, showed a trace of fear. Evan had never seen a Verati look afraid before. That alone told him something terrible was coming. The ground cracked as another distant boom echoed across the land. The giant Verati ship behind Serica shifted, preparing for flight. Drones circled wildly, their blue lights flashing like warning signals. "What is that thing?" Evan asked, his voice low. Serica did not look at him. She kept her eyes on the dark shape above. "A hunter," she said softly. "A creature from beyond our borders. From a place my people learned to fear long ago." Evan frowned. "You mean another alien race? Another enemy?" Serica shook her head slowly. "Not a race. A hunger." That answer chilled him more than the cold wind blowing through the ruins. The child stepped close to Evan, leaning gently against his arm. She searched the sky with wide, frightened eyes. Evan placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered, though he didn't believe it. The Queen turned to him suddenly. "We must leave, now." Evan hesitated. He looked back at the battlefield, the broken machines, the fallen soldiers, the smoke rising into the dark. What about the humans? He asked, "My team?" "They're still out there." Serica's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "If they stay on this moon, they die. The hunter devours all. It knows no mercy, no side, no purpose except destruction." A loud, sharp screech tore through the sky. Evan felt it in his bones. The child whimpered and hid her face against him. Serica held out her hand. "Come, Evan. The debt binds your fate to ours. If you refuse, you break the ancient law, and the hunter will strike at the heart of your people next." Evan clenched his jaw. His mind raced. He never wanted to be part of any prophecy, any ancient rule, any alien destiny. He was a soldier, not a hero. But the child needed him. Serica needed him. And now, maybe humanity needed him too. He looked at Serica. "If I come with you, will my team be safe? Will my people be safe?" The Queen nodded once. "I will give the order. The Varadi will stop the fighting. They will leave your forces alone." Evan took a deep breath. Something in the Queen's eyes told him she was speaking the truth. "Fine," he said. "I'll go." The Queen lifted her hand. A glowing path of symbols opened behind her, leading to the entrance of the massive ship. But as Evan stepped forward, the ground shook again, this time much closer. A dark shape emerged from the clouds. At first, Evan thought it was another ship, but then he realized it had no engines, no lights, no metal. It moved like a living shadow, twisting through the air with impossible speed. Serica's voice dropped to a whisper. "It followed us." The hunter creature turned its enormous head toward the battlefield. It had no eyes, only a dark, empty face like a hole in space. But despite having no eyes, Evan felt it staring directly at him, directly at the child. Serica grabbed her daughter and pulled her close. "Go, Evan." Inside the ship, Evan rushed forward, but the hunter screeched again. A beam of darkness shot from its mouth, hitting the ground and tearing it open like soft sand. The shockwave threw Evan off his feet. He hit the ground hard. The world spun. The child screamed his name. Evan forced himself up, legs shaking. The hunter was diving toward them. It opened its jaws filled with swirling, shadow-like teeth that didn't seem real. Serica raised her staff. Blue energy exploded from it, striking the creature and forcing it back. It roared in pain, but not for long. It darted again, stronger and angrier. Asterisk. Evan pushed himself forward. He grabbed the child and shielded her as another shockwave hit. Serica jumped in front of them, her armor glowing with violent light. She unleashed a massive energy blast that pushed the hunter away for a moment. She shouted, "Inside! Now!" Evan didn't argue. He ran toward the ship with the child in his arms. The ground cracked behind him as the hunter landed, destroying everything in its path. He reached the ramp of the ship. As he stepped onto it, The child turned her face into his chest and whispered a single word in fear. Darkness. Evan looked back. The queen was still outside, fighting alone. Her armor glowed brighter than ever. She aimed her staff at the hunter, shouting words in her ancient language. The ship vibrated as machines inside powered up. Evan stepped forward to go back for her, but the child grabbed his suit desperately. Don't, she whispered. She save us. She always save. Evan froze. The hunter lunged toward Serica with a roar that shook the sky, and the queen didn't run. She stood her ground. Asterisk. The hunter's roar spread across the battlefield like a shockwave. Evan felt the entire ship tremble beneath him. He turned back and saw Serica standing in the open, glowing with fierce blue energy, while the darkness creature circled her like a predator, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The child clung to Evan's chest, eyes wet but silent. She wasn't crying out of fear anymore. It was something else pain. And trust. Evan held her close and whispered, Your mother will be okay. She's strong. The child shook her head. No, she protect. Always protect. Evan understood what she meant. Serica wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting to buy time. Time for the ship to take off. Time to save her daughter. Time to save him. Another blast hit, and Serica staggered back. Her armor flickered, its blue glow dimming for the first time. She dropped to one knee, her staff shaking in her grip. Evan felt a surge of panic. He couldn't stand there and watch her die. He gently lowered the child onto the ship floor. Stay here, he whispered. Her eyes widened. She grabbed his arm. Don't go. Evan smiled softly. I have to. She saved you. She saved us. Now I save her. The child's small fingers tightened around his hand. Please, don't die. Evan touched her forehead gently, a promise in his eyes. Then he turned and ran down the ramp before she could stop him. Evan runs into the fire. The wind hit him hard as he sprinted toward the queen. The hunter towered over her, its long shadow stretching across the battlefield. Every movement it made cracked the ground, sending dust spiraling into the sky. Serica looked up just as the creature dove toward her. She raised her staff to block, but her strength was fading. Evan didn't think. He acted. He grabbed a fallen alien spear and charged. The hunter's massive body twisted mid-her, turning toward the source of the new noise him. Serica shouted, Evan, no, but it was too late. Evan threw the spear with everything he had. It struck the hunter's shoulder. The creature let out a shriek that shook the clouds and turned its full attention toward him. The queen's eyes widened with shock and something else. Respect. The hunter lunged. Evan braced himself for impact, but Serica flashed forward, slamming her glowing staff into the ground. A wall of blue energy erupted around Evan, blocking the hunter's strike. The queen stood in front of him, panting, armor cracked, but eyes burning brighter than ever. She looked at him with disbelief. You returned for me? Evan shrugged breathlessly. You didn't think I'd let you fight alone, did you? Serica stared at him. Something warm flickered behind her fierce expression, something almost human. You are bound to my daughter, she said softly. But now, you are bound to me as well. Before Evan could answer, the hunter roared again, gathering darkness around its jaws. Serica turned to him urgently. Take my hand. Evan hesitated for only a second, then grabbed her hand tightly. The moment their hands connected, something shocking happened. The ancient power awakens. Burst of blue light exploded around them. Symbols from Serica's armor leaped onto Evan's arm, glowing like neon tattoos. The ground hummed beneath their feet. The air vibrated. Evan felt power rushing through him, warm, heavy, ancient. Serica's voice shook as she spoke, half in her language, half in his. The prophecy. It's true. Our fates are linked. Evan wasn't sure what that meant, but the power coursing through both of them felt alive. Strong, dangerous. The hunter sensed it too and pulled back, its shadowy body swirling with uncertainty. Serica lifted her staff. Evan lifted his hand. Blue and white light rose around them like a storm. Together, they stepped forward, and together they attacked. The blast was like a supernova. It slammed into the hunter, tearing through its shadowy body. The creature screamed, twisting violently as its form cracked apart like shattered glass. Final explosion of light ripped through the sky, and the hunter dissolved into dust. Silence fell across the battlefield. The wind stopped. The ground stopped shaking. The darkness in the sky faded. It was over. A newborn Devon dropped to one knee, exhausted, breathing hard. Serica stumbled beside him, but she did not fall. Her armor flickered one last time before stabilizing. They looked at each other, both shaking. Serica placed her hand over Evan's. You have done what no human or Verati has ever done. You stood against the hunter. You fought with the queen. You protected the heir. She took a slow breath. The ancient law is fulfilled. You are no longer an outsider, Evan. You are now part of my house, part of my destiny. Evan didn't know what to say. He wasn't a royal guardian. He wasn't a chosen hero. He was just a soldier. But the child's voice broke the moment. Evan! She ran from the ship, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. She crashed into him with a hug so tight it hurt. Evan hugged her back gently. I'm okay. I'm here. Serica looked at them, her daughter holding the human holding her daughter. And then, for the first time, the queen smiled, a small, soft smile, warm, grateful, real. She extended her hand to Evan. Come with us. There is much you must learn. The galaxy is changing, and you are part of that change now. Evan looked at the queen, then at the child, then at the stars above. He took her hand, and with that choice, the galaxy shifted. A soldier became a protector. A queen found an ally. A child found her hero. A new future began. And the ancient story of human and Verati had only just started. Asterisk.